Hello and welcome to our webinar. So my name is Tom. I'm co-founder of Nordun. Nordun employs AI agents to automate non-EDI transactions in supply chain. I will be your host at this webinar, and we're going to have a closer look on the difference between data quality and data readiness in the age of AI. I also have a special guest with me. Silvio Stefan is the CEO of Orbit Log, and he has decades of experience when it comes to digital transformation in manufacturing and supply chains. But before we jump into this topic, let me first invite you to participate in our poll, so we can include also your thoughts and your experience in our discussion. So you can find the link in the chat. So please participate, and we'll be happy to include that in our discussion. So let's walk through a quick agenda. So first of all, we're going to talk about, together with Silvio, who prepared a few slides on the data, so more details about data readiness and compare that with data quality. Then we're going to have a closer look at practical ways how to align AI with your business processes. And also, thirdly, how to break down silos using AI, especially with new developments like generative AI and AI agents. And at the end, we're going to also have a QA session. So we're going to have a closer look at your questions that you can post right there in the chat. So you can also see now the link to the poll. And if you have any questions, just put it there. Silvio and I will try our best to answer that. So let us begin. Silvio, a great pleasure of having you here with me. And I'm really excited to dive deeper into the topic of data readiness and quality in the context of the new technologies that are around us and changing the landscape as we know it. And just to get started, Silvio, it would be great if you could do an introduction for our attendees. Over to you, Silvio.
Thanks, Thomas. Thanks for having me here. My name is Silvio Stefan. I'm since more than 20 years in supply chain automation and execution. And in my former life, I spent 15 years in a company called Siemens in process automation, which basically at the end of the day turns out being something similar. And we will see later in the discussion maybe. It's always about the process itself, and if you are able to break down the process and apply the right data and information. So I'm looking forward, let's begin. I think, Thomas, I shared now the screen, and
I think that would be best. I think that would be best. Thank you, Silvio. So I think in the first part, let's see why. I like your take on data readiness and why does it matter more than data quality. So in the decision-making process, and I think that would be great to have a look into that.
Is my microphone loud enough now?
Yeah, it's much better.
Okay. I just had to move it a little bit. Then let's start. You should be able to see it now, right?
Great.
Good work. Maybe just a quick word on Orbit itself. We are in the business as a service provider for supply chain execution automation between supplying and buying sides in many areas of inventory optimization, EDI, classic EDI. So this differentiation to your introduction, Thomas, you said before. And let's start here. That was when we started, or I was starting thinking about it. I was going to do a presentation about data readiness and quality, or the role of data in a supply chain or data-driven supply chain. And in that event where you saw these 57% of the participants, I have to admit I was one of them. Right intuitive, I said yes. Data quality concerns me because I think we can all agree that data quality is a very important part. And then just a few days later, I saw this post from Jeff and Wendy, and I said, "Oh, data quality should not be our primary goal." Um, and I was thinking about the differentiation between data quality and data readiness. And this is something we want to discuss pretty quick today. Of course, we can talk the whole day about it. The question is, I usually ask, are you ready for this transition? Does not apply only to AI, it applies to all technologies. A couple of years ago, I had a big presentation. We started also integrating supply chain finance. We utilized blockchain. And after a lot of events, people are coming to me and saying, "Oh, now we have first we had RFID, now we have supply chain. This is another solution looking for a problem." And I think this is the main part I really try to point out at the beginning here. We have to be ready and we have to understand the process. Like with this bobby car, if you planning a project, you would not go to your workshop or garage and say, "Oh, very nice, I have a V8 engine here and I want to put it on my body car." Probably it's the other way around. And we have to look at the people, the processes, and the technology, if they are ready for the challenges in the environment we live. And we know that it appears that complexity is growing and growing, and complexity is about to stay. I think simplification, which would be nice, it's not an option. If we look at this relationship between people, the processes, and the technology we have available. So what it means is, if we have to decide what comes first, I strongly believe that the human factor, our people, are the major part in this situation, because we have, on the one hand, we have to have people who understand the process, who are able to extract the process, and then at the same time understanding technology and considering context in terms of external factors. And we have, before we ask the question about data quality, data readiness, um, I think the first question should be: are our people ready? Are they are they comfortable coping with AI? Are they comfortable with coping with the processes? And the second part we will touch probably later in the discussion with Thomas as well um, is the process adequate for the solution, or is it the other way around? So in design, we have this saying, form follows function. So then coming in supply chain, we would say, okay, what's the purpose of supply chain? So purpose of supply chain is having the right product at the right place, at the right quantity, at the right time, at the right cost, with a minimum risk, providing benefit for the business as well as for the client. And if we consider this, we look the other way around. If we just apply technology and don't understand processes, then we increasing the complexity. That's all it is. I have a short interception here because this is something which goes also along the line with the discussion about data quality and data readiness. I think we are in the past years, we are losing some clarity in the terms we are using. For instance, we are continuously mixing up data and information. We are acquiring data, and if the data are processed and put into a context and structure, then we have information. And and on this information we can act on. So we have data, we have information, we have decision. This can be supported by supply chain and by AI, but what's missing here is the execution. At the end of the day, we have to move physically product from one place to the other, whether it's in our own premise or in the somewhere in the world. So the question, coming back to our subject, um, I would suggest it's not quality versus readiness, it's more purpose versus timing. Uh, I think we have an urge to get started. I think that's very important. And therefore, it's okay, what does data readiness and data quality mean? If we compare this and say, okay, let's say roughly, what do we understand in data quality? Of course, we have accuracy, completeness, consistency. We always ask the question, is our data correct? But I think we rather should ask the question, is our data useful and ready for the specific goal or for the specific application we are having? So we know perfect quality isn't needed everywhere, but we'll have also some examples to go into this. And I would go even one step further and saying data readiness includes data quality, because in my understanding, data readiness is a broader consideration, even includes, which is not on the slide here, includes data security, which is part. If I have high quality data, it's one part. If I'm data ready, it fits for the purpose, and it's also considers security and other reasons. I think this is something I want to throw into the discussion here. I think data readiness is more than just quality. To boost the discussion a little bit, or I want to provide you with three simple examples. Um, AI forecasting in supply chain. I can use a example out of our own experience. We forecast consumption at customer sites where the supplier can organize the replenishment of the product. What we did is was very simple, very basic. We had a set of data providing the inventory level in the past. So what we needed is the consumption. We have also the consumption in the past, but it's based on inventory levels. So what we did a simple timeline AI automation using reverse neural networks and saying, okay, we make a forecast of the inventory levels. Therefore, we had to eliminate the consumption. Eliminating the consumption means we have an endless consumption pattern which we can predict for the future. Then, with these endless consumption patterns, we have to reapply the reality. Means we have to say, okay, what's the geometrics where the product is stored in, and based on that, we can say at what point in time a replenishment is needed. But this is not all. The data are, let's say, we can forecast are not so correct. So we have another intelligent solution based on this future demand. We create orders automatically in an SAP system for a period of time. Then the system will compare the current consumption, the current consumption with the predicted consumption, detects the deviation, and then based on that, acts actually and either moves future orders further back in the future or get it closer to present. So from my perspective, this is a very simple example. You don't have very correct data here in this use case because you have transmission data, you have physical sensors on tanks or silos, or you have failure in scanning of product. But in the combination with an intelligent system, you don't have to be very exact, and you cannot 100% predict the future.
So maybe just to double click on that one, Silvio. So what, when you're talking about good enough, like if you take the percentages or just an estimate, what usually you find it's good enough when it comes to quality of or data in the first example. So with the forecasting, what was your experience?
If we just look at the forecasted data, which is at the first beginning the inventory level, and then derived from that the consumption, our experience is this is relatively inaccurate, the result. But then in the combination, saying, okay, I act on that data and have a, let's say, a sanity check, if you want to say so, and compare what was the prediction, what was the actual, the real life. This is, let's say, something we usually have done in the past. We always lived on historic data, but now we are using predictive data, comparing them, what actually happened, and then act in a second step again on that. So, and this, the result out of this is almost, let's say, 100% without human invention. Of course, then it's another point of, let's say, what is the role of people? Someone has to be able to monitor if an exception happens, for instance, if you have to stop production. So AI does have limited content. Yeah. If we go to the second example, if it comes to, let's say, reporting and things like this, then we have a different situation. You have hazardous materials, you have patch information, you have to fulfill regulations. For this example, quality is has the first priority because it is not negotiable if it comes to hazardous material, to other regulations. So we have to turn the wheel here a little bit. And let's say the compromise is EDI automation. I think this is something where I think we all came from, or from programming. We are used to be absolutely correct. So if we make a mistake in our C++ program, if we have a mistake in the EDI format, then usually SAP or any other system will say, stop, and you don't even know until somebody looks after it. So
I think
this could be a compromise where a intelligent system can, let's say, fill certain gaps.
Yeah, also maybe Silvio, just to double click on that one, it's also kind of human perception, especially if you go to manufacturing in general, right? It's myself being mechanical engineer is also part of education, right? You expect to be very accurate, right? Very to the point. And then on the other side, right? So you are basically handling with probabilities in real life. And this is usually also discussion, let's say, between myself and my co-founder, right? So he's a mathematician. So for him, everything is, he looks through probability lens, right? And as a mechanical engineering, you're like, okay, it has to be like this. But I completely agree with you on this one, yeah.
Yeah, I think this brings it really to the point, Tom, because I think if we assume a system with zero tolerance, we talked about it before, zero tolerance system is doomed to fail. And will not be resilient. And what we are driving for is we want to gain some resilience. We want to have adaptability. And if we take the term artificial intelligence by word and take the famous phrase, intelligence is the ability to change, to adapt to change, then we have to have, let's say, some reliance also, let's say, in more probability. At the end of the day, AI is mathematics as well. Only.
Exactly to the point, yeah.
coming from here, you can basically draw a kind of, let's say, an assumed timeline, saying, okay, I picked the applications. Of course, I have to understand the process first and what is needed for the process we talked about. And then you can draw a timeline and say, okay, we start with readiness, saying, okay, we can, for instance, forecasting, which is in supply chain always a big deal. We can accumulate and aggregate demand forecasts, use this data to organize our logistics, our production, our purchasing process. This is my vision, and it's really difficult because you have to involve purchasing, production, sales, marketing, logistics, supply chain, and the customer and the supplier. And this is, let's say, particularly in our industry, in the process industry, it's very difficult to get through the silos. Even if everybody is talking about this is a big deal, which goes back to people. Readiness. Am I ready for digitalization? Am I ready for Industry 4.0? Am I ready for AI?
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with you. So here we have also some comments from Adam. So who's putting this into suggesting a structure that basically everything goes under data governance, right? So the data quality, data readiness, data security as well. So it's a good point of segmentation of this. And I like that positioning towards the AI, as you mentioned, right? So, and then at the end, it's about humans. And this is, I think, also the discussion that we want to take on from there. So, it's all nice and dandy. So all these, discussions about, data quality and data readiness, they're relatively old, right? So when the AI started, more or less, it was, if your data is not organized. Is this still valid today, or do you think that with new technologies and AI agents, really we can skip, or at least make it a bit easier to bring the people into using technologies?
I just want to first go back to Adam pretty quick. I 100% agree with you, Adam. From a perspective, also, let's say, which goes back, we have to be clear, defined in our data dictionary. If we discuss certain points like data quality, accuracy, safeguard, then we have to have or develop a common understanding what it really means. And maybe just to your last comment, Adam, let's say probabilities. If we go one step further and combine AI with quantum computing, then we have a big mess if you want to look at it from a negative way, because then you have probabilities with probabilities. And this might be interesting, and that goes more in the philosophical discussion about how maybe our intelligence works. But we can leave this aside for now. But from accuracy perspective, just one, let's say, if I look in the past from an engineering perspective, I was providing measurement technology or IoT devices to clients. And in the past, we had always specialists for pressure, for temperature, for level measurement. And then the specialists were asking, are you using a 8-bit, 16-bit, 33-bit analog digital converter? And then they defined how accurate this device is. This has nothing to do with reality. If you have a 150-ton tank with powder inside, which, let's say, builds a cone one way or the other, filling or leaving, the discussion if the accuracy of the sensor and digitalization is 16 or 33 bits, 32 bits, it's meaningless at the end. It depends on the application. Yeah? And technology will help. And of course, we do have still to cope also with talking about probabilities, with hallucinating and eliminating hallucinating of AI. This is again also, let's say, a task which has to be coped with an operator, and this makes the whole work not easier, because if you are, let's say, in the position to monitor a task, but not actually doing it every day, there is a risk to lose capabilities. And we had this analogy, let's say, if you do have, if you build big plants, um, he said, okay, I use third parties for different stuff. And in the past, I did it with my whole company by myself. Then I give the task to somebody else, in this case to AI. And how do I make sure that I'm not losing my know-how, my capabilities to drive this process? That's, from my perspective, a good question. And I think it going further to discuss it also, let's say, from your perspective, Tom, um, I think the question is we need to do a constant assessment of the data and information we have for the specific use case. So data quality, I think all agree, are absolutely necessary, but always in relationship to the application we are doing. And it should not be a hurdle to start doing something.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I completely agree. So I was just trying to ask you. Well, so that means also from your what you've seen, right? So you have so much experience from the field, and it's basically it. So it's always a question when you talk to large companies whether should we wait, right, and refine and determine, or first understand the processes, change the processes, and then start with AI. You know, to a certain extent, I guess, for sure, but or it's other, as you said, right? So we have certain use cases with where what we have currently is good enough, and we can start right now, right? Because on the other side, you cannot prepare to the same extent, so that there will be everything will be flawless, right? So there will always be some missing puzzle when you're doing the actual implementation or onboarding, when you're going to say, well, there are a lot of there is we didn't know that before, or it's implicitly kind of hidden in the context that people know, or people are part of the processes. So I really like your slide. Maybe if you go back, and I would like to double click on that one. So when you have human who's orchestrating the
Well,
entire process, I think this is the crucial part, right? And I think that the crucial kind of question here is, did this technology that is coming, like AI agent, sorry, is it changing this? It's going to be easier, or do you think it's going to stay the same, right? So in the past, we have this paradigm, like you said, SAP. So SAP expects users to basically adopt completely, right? So they have to do in the exact field what's anticipated. If you miss one character, it will not work. So does that change? And it's becoming more, user friendly, more soft, and more fluent. What do you think?
I have, let's say, two comments to this. On the one hand, let's say, I think this SAP is always a good example. Uh,
It's an
but
extreme. It's an extreme.
yeah, if we just considering that in average, a human being has every 300 characters a typing error, I think, let's say, a simple machine learning can do better, or even a simple program which is deterministic could do better. Uh, this is one aspect of, let's say, making mistakes. Probably, I don't know the answer for this. We may be adopting to the point that we accept certain mistakes of AI as well. It's pretty steep, but let's say just leave it there. But I have an additional idea to this, or a thesis. Let's say if you consider the processes in the right lower corner, usually you can put a balance around each process. Yeah, so you have input, you have output, you have auxiliaries, and you have waste. And no matter how small you or how deep you go into the processes, will always be the same. If a process is defined or used in a factory plant, where you don't have beginning status and end status and something which happens in between, even if it's just simple transportation, change of location, then this process does not exist. So for us, understanding technology, it might be in the future a possibility. Do you see my mouse here? That, let's say, on the one hand, the human beings will analyze the process, but they will use technology to analyze the process. So what we are usually doing, we are automating existing processes, which is good. So at the moment, automating manual processes, getting more effectivity and so on. But we are missing part of the results, because if we redesign the process, that we can, let's say, get the whole benefit of new technologies. That could be AI, that could be blockchain, could be RFIDs, could be something else. Doesn't matter. But I think, particularly with AI, we have the ability to use it itself to analyze processes and suggest maybe more sufficient processes.
Okay, so maybe my view on, right. So we are implementing and kind of focusing on deploying AI agents in different manufacturing and logistics kind of settlements, usually on the edges of the companies, like either sales side or it's like a procurement operational side, and then you grow. You kind of the idea is to have single source of truth, which should be ERP at the end. So it should be fed with all the relevant information, and what we're learning is that sometimes it's easier to start with AI agents completely replicate the work as humans are doing, because there is so much implicit context that it's in people's minds, and you have to. I think currently this is the biggest kind of maybe the biggest gap with scaling also AI. So the first steps would be how to transfer that from people's minds to AI agents, so they can do the same thing. And then I think in the next wave, while these agents are already automating, in the next generation they will be also to find new shorter ways and optimize the processes as we go, right? So I think it's going to be, from the also technology point of view, that would be kind of the next step. Because if you go top down, what we also learn, and if you don't have a support from bottom, from like operators who are using technology, and they say, no, I don't want to use it, there is a complete stop to automation, right? So that's why bottom up, transferring the knowledge, making like onboarding super easy, bringing value real quick, and that's going to help to automate and speed up. And then next step, I think that starting to optimize, shorten the ways in the processes is the next step. And that context, I think currently, as mentioned, I will double click on that one, is a really really big part what we see. I don't know how your experience is here, when also you kind of defining the processes and trying to do the digital transformation on top of that.
I more than 100% agree with you, if this is possible. I can give you an example of my past life, automating processes. It was a chemical plant. They automated batch production of certain colorants, and we implemented everything. So all the batch did run automatic with PLC and DCS systems, and the process didn't work. What they did was they didn't ask the operator, because they said, if the machine makes a certain noise, I have to put from this material a little bit more in, and then it works. So you have to take the people to the journey. If you left the people behind you, then you are not going to succeed. Definitely not. And another point is having certain understanding about the technology. I think both of us, we made the experience together. We had a client who did not want to process their data externally.
Yeah. So, so for everybody, a bit of background. So Silvia and I already collaborated. So we started already that employing AI agents to get demand forecasts and streamline it into their ID system and structure. And yeah, maybe, and you can continue, Silvia.
Yes, and I was thinking about it, and actually, we are doing at the moment a project with, let's say, agentic rec agents. Uh, and I tried in a congress a few weeks ago to explain to managers that they have to have a certain basic understanding of AI. For instance, the recursive network I mentioned at the beginning. Then you have the large language models, which need to be trained having, let's say, huge computing power. But then you can host the large language model in your, let's say, private domain and add private domain knowledge to it, which you don't want to share with everybody. And these type of concepts, now we are talking also for decision making. We're talking about the so-called not REX, but REST agents. So they have an augmented reasoning. Um,
Mhm.
Meaning reasoning, getting some real time or some real world information constantaneously for decision processes. So some of the basics need to be understood in order to apply it. But in the first, again, 100% with you, Tom, uh, we have to get the process and particular the knowledge of our people.
Yeah, I said in the knowledge of the people, I think I would double click on that one. So, what for instance, we work with a large logistic company, and we are kind of automating invoice. Sorry, it's a warranty claims filing towards the OEMs for the assets, and it's a completely now automated process. And part of interesting thing here is so that this was done by people before, like going through the repair invoices and then filing warranty claims towards the OEMs. And this we are talking about thousands per day, and that was really overwhelming. And what we observed, it came really naturally actually, that these guys now, instead of doing that manually, going through the invoices, is more or less focused on the one level higher. So which is, I am maintaining the knowledge base. I'm kind of orchestrating AI agents, but on a higher level. So I'm not into the weeds of it. So to doing like smaller changes, and reading through the invoices and filing things, but rather setting the rules and orchestrating. So that exactly in the center, as you said, and not maybe just having the processes and people, now also AI agents, who I basically, through my rules, and knowledge base, I'm kind of saying what they should be doing. And that works really nice, I must say, especially like things that you said before. Yeah, you have to do something with the machine. Here was the same, right? So it's like, yeah, what we have a verbal agreement with this supplier, right? So they would say, yeah, even though it's like 3 months over the guarantee, because we have a good relationship, we're gonna give it a tick. So if you go through the contracts, it's not there, but somebody has to bring that knowledge to the AI agent in order to process that. So that's the reality of it.
This is absolutely correct, and this is, let's say, a whole new, let's say, thing um, to look into. Let's say how to make contracts. In my past, we were talking about uh, small contracts in supply chain, but let's say negotiating real contracts, AI needs to get some innovation, some levels up. Adam, I think it was maybe a misunderstanding. I was not talking about the Compass Group.
That was a question from Adam. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
let's say yes, with your previous statement, Adam, I agree. AI agents, let's say specialized agents. I try to compare these agentic AI systems with, let's say, in SAP we have these SMEs, these special matter experts.
Hmm.
In AI systems, we have the coordinator, we have the programmer, the legal advisor. So they are special matter experts. They work together, they exchange, they have to be coordinated. And then you have maybe a moderator, which is a human being, which fits to this, let's say, maybe this picture. I moved the guy with the instrument orchestration a little bit up, which could be AI, let's say, giving, let's say, working together with the contextual information human beings have. Yeah. If there is a pandemic, AI may not know exactly how to react, and the old learned and trained rules may not apply, for instance.
Yeah. Okay, so Silvio, I guess we are at the end of our webinar. So it's super interesting. I think we answered all the questions and comments. It was so kind of what we learned is human is still very important and is going to play a very important role for years to come. But we have to start with introducing an adoption of technologies now, right? I think that would be the key getaway here, and work hand in hand, and that's also going to help upskill people to be better, and companies will be better and faster as well. So. Thank you so much, Silvio, for being here. Really a pleasure. And thank you all for listening and being with us. Thank you.
Thank you all for attending, and thank you for having me. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.